So evolution is the theory that organisms have developed with their bodies modified over time. It all started with Charles Darwin in 1838 and states that all life forms came from one common ancestor. And they just kept evolving into completely different organisms. He even said that natural selection is the engine that drives evolution. Join me as I explore and discuss some of the organisms that make up the kingdom Animalia. I am Gwyneth A. Sumanga and this is my e-portfolio of Kingdom Animalia. For the overview, scientists have long argued that in the theory, similar conditions should shape unrelated species in similar ways. One should expect that natural selection produce similar features into species with similar needs. Scientists call this convergent evolution. Some dramatic changes occur among animals. Bats, birds, and insects independently evolve wings that serve the same outside purpose yet arise from different body structures. In the same way, homologous structures in animals that share a common ancestor have evolved in different environments. The bones inside the human hand, the bear paws, dog foot, whale flipper, and bat wing show an amazing similarity. They have the same basic sets of carpal and metacarpal bones attached to the forearm bones, and yet evolution has fashioned each set for decidedly different purpose. So in connection to this, I made an e-portfolio as a requirement in General Zoology 1, and it aims to identify different species belonging from different classes and phyla, classify these organisms from domain to species, identify each species and group's unique characteristics, and construct a cladogram to compare and find the similarities of representative species from each phylum to identify their evolutionary relationships. So the first one is the protozoa or the kingdom from the kingdom Protista. So it is under the protoplasmic grade of organization. They are an informal grouping of single-celled eukaryotic microorganisms. So this just means that protozoa inside a single cell, all structure and life functions that may sustain them to make them alive are confined in a single cell. So they are unicellular. They are animal-like protists. They can be living or parasitic. They can live independently or they need a host. They occur after a period of growth. So general reproductive methods include asexual reproduction, like binary fission, budding, plasmotomy, and schizogony. So binary fission is almost similar to cell division. Budding is when an outgrowth of a bud from a generative anatomical point becomes a new organism. Plasmotomy, division of a multinucleated cell, and schizogony, also called as multiple fission, is the same to binary fission and plasmotomy in some way. So an example of this is the Euglena gracilis, or also known as the Euglena. So there are different types of protists. Protists may have pseudopods, they may have cilia or flagellum. So Euglena is a protist with flagellates like this. I think these are the flagellates. So another type of a flagellum of a protist is the one that have pseudopods or otherwise known as the fake feet. These are the pseudopods or lumps in a cell in a protozoa. So these are formed by cytoplasm, and the cytoskeleton, and it allows for the cell's motility or locomotion. So this one, they use the flagellum for locomotion. They are heterotrophic and autotrophic. So they can consume food by phagocytosis or the ingestion of solid particles by engulfing it in the membrane of their cell. So they can also perform photosynthesis because they have an eye spot, or these eye spots are a region in the cell which have a concentration of pigment that responds to light for light reception that allows them to make food of their own. So the next one is the phylum Porifera. They comprise the sponges. These are small, simple invertebrate animals that live in aquatic habitats. So it means pore-bearing. They have porocytes. These are narrow and elongated cells that connect the outside of the sponge to the inside cavity. These are also known as the channels that connect the outside to the inside. So the particles, water or solid particles, can pass through the sponges. So this is Euplecteria aspergillum, also known as the Venus flower basket. They are under the class Hexactinellida. So there are many types of sponges. So this is a type of a glass sponge which is made up of silica. There are also bat sponges made up of comprising of the spongin fibers, and the calcareous sponges. These are sponges that are protected by calcium carbonate. But the Venus flower basket is protected by a substance called silica. So it is about a foot long. So it has a top of fibers at the narrow base that attaches the animal to the sea bottom. So this is an opening, while yung bottom naman is to attach it to the sea bottom. So the next one is phylum Cnidaria. They have stinging cells called nematocysts. So this is to capture their prey or to sting their prey for them to consume. They have two basic forms, the medusa and polyp. So medusae, just like jellyfish, they are free swimming or floating, while polyps are sessile, or they just in one place. They are immobile. They have tubular bodies. One end is attached to the substrate, and a mouth is found at the other end. So yung superior part, this is the mouth, and then the base is attached to the bottom, to the sea bottom or the substrate. So this is an Anthoplura xanthogrammica, also known as the giant green anemone. This is under Anthozoa subclass Hexacoralia. So Hexacoralia are known as having simple unbranched tentacles. So Anthozoa are species that can be classified as polyps. So as you can see, this is a polyp. It is vase shaped like a vase, unlike the medusa, which is cup shaped, just like the jellyfish. They look like this. So they're located within the green anemone's tentacles, imanidocytes, and they help them paralyze its prey, but it can cause no harm to humans. So it moves slowly through the use of its basal disc, and it usually stays attached when the tides move in and out. So to prevent from desiccation or from drying out, giant green anemones will retract their tentacles and close during low tides. So that is to avoid desiccation or extreme dryness. The next one is phylum Ctenophora. So ctenophores consist of thick jelly-like mesoglea sandwiched between the two epithelia. So mesoglia, this is a gelatinous substance that aids in digestion and nutrient absorption. So they have sensory cells that secrete mucus, and the specialized parts of the body, the outer layer contains coloblasts found along the surface of tentacles. So these coloblasts, they secrete mucus, sticky mucus. They work like glue. While cnidarians paralyze their prey using their stinging cells called cnidocytes, ctenophores have a coloblast that works like glue. They capture their prey using the glue-like substance called the coloblast. So this is a Nemaiopsis lady under the class Tentaculata. So the class Tentaculata are ctenophores with only a pair of tentacles, of ciliated tentacles. These are also known as the sea walnut. They do not sting, but they have adhesive cells called coloblasts, just like I said earlier, that release a sticky mucus-like substance to trap prey. So they are also known as comb jelly because they look like a comb. These are like the teeth of the comb, and these are the cilia. So they look transparent and bright when you subject it in the dark. Next is the phylum Mollusca. So they have a true coelom, a muscular foot for locomotion and anchorage. So they are exclusively aquatic. Mollusquids that are exclusively aquatic have gills for respiration, and terrestrial species have lungs, just like the snails. So a tongue-like organ called a radula, which bears chitinous tooth-like ornamentation, is present in many species and serves to shred or scrape food. So this is how a radula looks like. So this is the internal structure of a snail. So this is the radula, the teeth. So when the food goes in, the food gets shredded. So for better digestion. So this is the Lysacatina polica, also known as the giant African snail, which is extremely common in our gardens. They are under the class Gastropoda. So species under the class Gastropoda have a coiled shell, and they have cone shaped and has a height that is twice of the width. So they are heterothermic, so they let the environment affect their body temperatures. Next are the Annelida, phylum Annelida. So the annelids are coelomate and triploblastic. They exhibit an organ system level organization. They are segmented. Yan, segmented sila. And they respire through their body surface. So they have a well-developed circulatory and digestive system. Their body contains hemoglobin, which explains why they suck blood from animals and humans. So regeneration is very common characteristic of the annelids. And most of them are hermaphrodite. So hermaphrodite are when male and female organs are present in the same body. So this is Hirudum medicinalis. This is a type of medicinal leech used for medicinal purposes. They have two suckers, but usually yung isa lang yung ginagamit pang suck. They have a jaw and a teeth that look like saws, but we cannot see it because it's too small. They just have teeth that resemble saws. And the posterior is used mainly for leverage, this one, for force or for better locomotion, while the anterior is the one used to suck blood. So the name Hirudo medicinalis is very familiar to us because Hirudo comes from the word, I think is connected to the word hirudin, which is an inhibitor of the substance, is an inhibitor of thrombin. So thrombin also sounds familiar because it can be connected to thrombocytes or our platelet that prevents the clotting, that helps the blood clot. Next is the phylum Echinodermata. They are known for their spines and bumps covering the outer surface of the bodies of many of them. They have two major defining characteristics. It's just the water vascular system and the five-sided radial symmetry. So the water vascular system is a complex series of canals running through an echinoderm's body. It is a hydraulic pressure system that aids in movement, not just movement, but for gas exchange, locomotion, and nutrient circulation. So without water, this starfish will die. So this is called a sand dollar. We usually see this on the seashore, and this is a starfish. These two organisms, we always see them when we walk at the beach, and when we see them, they are like dead. They appear as dead. That is because the waves carried them to the shore, and then they were taken out of the water. So when they're taken out of the water, it is extremely fatal for them. Because water is life for them, it controls their whole system, internal system, that makes them alive. So this is Aparancentrotus lividus, or the purple sea urchin, under the class Echinoidea. So under the class Echinoidea are they have spiny appearance, spiny outer covering. So they look like a maze. So their colors, they're usually purple, dark brown, light brown, and olive green. So that is the purple sea urchin. Next is the hemichordata. These animals are called as acorn worms. So they known to have a post-anal tail, and the notochord, they also have the pharyngeal slits that are found in chordates. So this phylum contains marine deuterostome animals. So when we say deuterostome, it's when the blastopore, or the opening in the embryo develops into an anus first instead of the mouth. So another notable feature of this organism is the threefold division of the body, with the preoral lobe, the collar, and the trunk. So this is the preoral lobe, this is the collar, and this is the trunk. So as you can see, the collar sometimes bears the tentacles, and the trunk has the digestive and reproductive organs. So next is the Saccoglossus bromephanulosus. So these are also called acorn worms. This is their common name. They are under the phylum Hemichordata. Soft roundworms with 3 body divisions, but their proboscis, this one, it's longer than the one we saw earlier. That's their distinguishing feature. So they are cylindrical in shape, and they have a notochord. Next is the phylum Arthropoda. So these are the insects. They are animals with hard exoskeletons that are made up of chitin. So appendages are used for eating, feeling, sensing, mating, respiring, walking, or defense. So these appendages are like limbs, like to us, the hands and the arms and the thighs, the legs. Those are the limbs in humans, while These arthropods have antenna, the legs, their appendages for eating. They have a complete digestive system and a true coelom. So, the species I choose is the Grammostola rosea, also known as the Chilean rose tarantula. Under the class Arachnida, this class have 4 pairs of legs. So this tarantula is large, and they undergo the process of molting. So molting is when they get rid of their exoskeleton and replace it with a new one, because their exoskeleton is so rigid or hard, so they can't grow up. But when they get rid of it, they can grow in size. Next is the platyhelminths. They are bilaterally symmetrical and lack specialized respiratory, circulatory, and skeletal systems. They don't have a body cavity or coelom. They are hermaphroditic. So just like mentioned earlier, both sexes occur in one individual. So they have 3 embryonic layers: the endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. So they have a head region that is concentrated with sense organs and nervous tissue. So as you can see, the rest of their body is flat, but their head is spherical and larger. So most of the time, platyhelminths or flatworms are, what do you call this? Parasitic. They need a host to survive. So next, this is the Taenia saginata, also known as the beef tapeworm, which attaches itself to the intestine of a cow under the class Cystoda. Next one is the phylum Nematoda. These are unsegmented worms, or roundworms. They perform an important role in nutrient recycling, but they cause several damage to plants. They are bilaterally symmetrical, and they are triploblastic. So they are cylindrical in shape, and they exhibit dimorphism. So what is dimorphism? It is when there is a distinction between the two sexes. For example, the female here is larger than the male. Then you can easily recognize which is the female, which is the male. So it also happens in different animals like peacock, whales, lion, and also humans. As you can see, in humans, the man looks different from the female looks different from the male. So this is the Nematoda Globodera pallida. It has a lot of names because it is important in agriculture, because it is the major cause of losses in major crop losses. So the female has a globe-shaped body with a thick lacy cuticle. It retains its eggs inside its body. Rather than releasing them. Then it becomes a brown cyst when it dies. So these are the dead Globodera pallida. So this is the cladogram I constructed for the invertebrates. So instead of making the Euglena an outgroup, I just included it because they are all eukaryotic. So the Euglena, all these organisms are eukaryotic, but this protoplasmic period of organization is only unique to the Euglena. The pores and the tunnel system unique to the phylum Porifera or the Venus flower basket. Then they are multicellular. And then the presence of gut or two tissue layers, they are being exhibited by the phylum Cnidaria up to the phylum Hemichordata. So cnidocytes or stinging cells are only exclusive for the phylum Cnidaria or the giant green anemone. So cleavage during development or cell division. So sea walnut to phylum Hemichordata has that. But sea walnut, the something that is unique to them is they are both bilateral and radial symmetry, or they possess a biradial symmetry. So bilateral symmetry only, and triploblastic is exhibited by beef tapeworm to acorn worms. So these organisms have complete digestive system or digestive tract that are similar to humans, these organisms. But the potato cyst nematodes have longitudinal muscles, that's why they move back and forth and they move like this. So through coelom and vascular system is for this. And then the protostome. So these three phyla, phylum Arthropoda, phylum Annelida, and phylum Mollusca are protostomes. And then the only segmented animals here are the Chilean rose tarantula and the medicinal leeches. Next is deuterostome. So let's again go back to the to how we distinguish deuterostome from protostome is that the blastopores in a deuterostome, these blastopores are opening in the embryo, becomes the anus in deuterostome. But the blastopores in protostome becomes the mouth. So the animals that are deuterostome are the purple sea urchin and the acorn worms. And then, so only the acorn worms possess the notochord. So the acorn worms possess all these characteristics. So this only means that the phylum Hemichordata is the most complex as we compare it to the Euglena. So the next one are the invertebrate chordates. So these are animals of the phylum Chordata because they possess a notochord at some point of their development but no vertebral column. So lahat ng chordates, they have notochord, but in invertebrate chordates, the notochord stays even if they are adults. So they have a notochord, a dorsal nerve tube, a postanal tail, and pharyngeal slits. That these are four main characteristics of a chordate, and the invertebrate chordates also have that. But only that in chordates alone, the notochord is replaced by a backbone. So this is a Branchiostoma lanceolatum or the European lancelet under the class Leptocardi. It has an elongated body flattened laterally. So it's flat. As you can see, it's flat. And pointed at both ends. So pointed siya here. A stiffening rod of tightly packed cells, the notochord extends the whole length of the body. So the notochord extends from here to here, sa dorsal part. And unlike vertebrates, the notochord persists in adult in form of simple dorsal neural tube, slightly thickened in the anterior part. So this is the European lancelet, which is a cephalochordate. Next is the class Myxini. Comprises the hagfishes comprises the class Myxini. They are renowned for their slime-producing abilities. They lack true jaws, and they have degenerate eyes and many gill openings So they have a semicircular canal and a single olfactory canal for their sense of smell. So they only rely on a notochord. So hagfishes are scavengers and burrow into the dead or dying fishes. So this is Myxine glutinosa or the Atlantic hagfish under the class Myxine. So they are known to produce or secrete mucus that allows themselves to tie into knots. And then they don't have jaws, but they have 6 barbels like this. These are the barbels, 5, 6. And they have a star-shaped mouth. So the next one is the class Petromyzontida. So both class Myxine and class Petromyzontida are agnatans. So it means they don't have jaws. So lampreys and their fossil relatives belong to this class and are also called jawless vertebrates. They have a cylindrical elongated shape and a disc-shaped mouth. So they have a disc-shaped mouth underneath, lined with keratinous teeth. They have pore-like gill openings, but they don't have paired fins. These are the gill openings. They are almost the same to class Myxine because they don't have jaws. So this is the disc-shaped mouth of the lampreys. This is the ichthyomyzon ibdelium. So also known as the Ohio lamprey. They have segments of muscles that are visible along their body called myomeres, a jawless mouth. They have a single continuous dorsal fin. This is their single continuous dorsal fin. These are their pore openings or the gill openings. These are like the teeth, the keratinous teeth that looks like a saw, the teeth of a saw. Next is class Chondrichthyes. So they are jawed vertebrates with paired fins, paired nares, scales, and the heart with its chambers in series. The skeleton is cartilaginous. So since it's cartilaginous, they don't have a bone marrow. So red blood cells are produced in the spleen. The skin is covered with tough dermal teeth, making it feel like sandpaper. We have a tough skin covered with dermal teeth. So this is the Isurus oxyrhynchus or the short fin mako shark under the class Chondrichthyes. It is a fairly large species of shark. It is sexually dimorphic. So dimorphism, as explained earlier, males can be distinguished from females. So females are typically larger than males and is cylindrical in shape with a vertically elongated tail. So they exhibit counter shading because they have a brilliant metallic blue coloration on the dorsally and they are white ventrally. Next is the class Osteichthyes. So instead of cartilage, bony fish have bones. They have a swim bladder. So when you cut a fish in their ventral part, or when you clean the fish or take out their insides, you can see a balloon-like structure that has a gas inside. So it keeps the bony fish buoyant. They have paired pectoral and pelvic fins. They have bones in their fins or yung tinik ito sa fins. So they have dorsal anal caudal fins and the lateral line, this one, is a series of sensory organs called neuromasts that helps bony fish sense vibrations and water pressure and help fish navigate and locate prey. So this is the Oncorhynchus gorbutia, or the pink salmon that has a pink flesh, but sometimes it's also called the humpback salmon because they have a hump. So this is a type of a large fish. They have a V-shaped tail and a mouth with no teeth. Next is the class Aves. Some of the bird's common features are the oviparous reproduction. Oviparous reproduction means that the fertilized egg or the embryo does not develop within the mother, but is laid as an egg. So the heart has 4 chambers. They have modified wings or modified front limbs, feathers, and beak without teeth. So some species have webbed feet that are covered with epidermal scales, while some have the ability to fly because of their well-modified muscles. They have a flattened breastbone and a well-developed sharp eyesight. So this is Anas platyrhynchus under the class Aves, also known as mallards or large ducks. So these large ducks can fly. They can fly and they can swim because they also have a webbed feet. They can fly because of their modified limbs or well-modified muscles that enables them to fly. Next is the class Reptilia. These were the first class of organisms to adapt life on land. They are believed to have evolved from the amphibians millions of years ago. The skull of the reptiles is modified that gives it an efficient and powerful jaw action. It's like the crocodiles. So the modification also makes the skull light. They are creeping, cold-blooded animals with dry skin that has no glands present. So limbs are present in almost all types of species under the class Reptilia aside from snakes. This is the Varanus komodoensis or the Komodo dragons. So these are reptiles that creep because they have 2 pairs of legs and a yellow tongue that flick in and out. And they also have a tough skin or scale. Next is the class Amphibia. So the amphibians are characterized by having moist, glandular skin that lacks the keratinized scales of reptiles. So the amphibians and the reptiles almost look the same because they are thought to have evolved. Because reptiles are thought to have evolved from amphibians, only that amphibians has a slimy appearance on their skin. So amphibian eggs don't have a shell. Instead, they are surrounded by several gelatinous layers. Most amphibian larvae have gills, and most adults have lungs. In many amphibians, the skin is also important in gas exchange. So this is the Lithobates palustris or the pickerel frog with 2 square spots on its back and dorsolateral folds extending towards the groin area. So it has dorsolateral folds, of course, in its dorsal and lateral area. And the ventrum is white. The ventrum or the belly, the ventral part is white, maybe mottled. So glandular secretions allow them to protect themselves from snakes. Next is the class Mammalia. So female mammals have mammary glands. So just like the birds, there are mammals that are oviparous, just like the monotremes, like the platypus. But females have mammary glands. They produce milk for their offspring, contains disease-fighting molecules, and nutrients a baby mammal needs. They have hair or fur that insulates the body to help conserve body heat. So other traits of mammals include sweat glands in their skin, alveoli in their lungs, four-chambered heart, and the brain covering called the neocortex. This is a cow, also known as the Bos taurus, under the class Mammalia. They are large, sturdy animals. They produce milk, of course. The body is covered in short hair. So domestic cows have short necks with dewlaps hanging below the chin. These are the dewlaps. Yeah. So some have two hollow horns. These are horns, but others do not. And they have a long tufted tail. The jaws are designed for the circular grinding motion to crush coarse vegetation. So they chew in a circular motion. So this is the cladogram for vertebrates that I constructed. So the first one is the European lancelet, which is under the phylum Cephalochordata. They have all species here. All species here have a dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, notochord, and post-anal tail. So the Atlantic hagfish have dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits, notochord, post-anal tail, and a pair of sense organs. The Ohio lamprey have vertebrate and backbone, but they don't possess a jaw, lungs, and bone in the skeleton. So the short fin mako shark, they have jaw, vertebrate, sense of organs, notochord, but one thing that is unique about them is their cartilaginous structure. While the class Osteichthyes or the pink salmon have lungs and bony endoskeleton. So the pickerel frog have paired limbs, lungs, jaw, vertebrate, they have sense organs, they have notochord. And the Komodo dragon, and the mallard duck from class Mammalia, class Reptalia, and class Aves have an amniotic fluid protecting the embryo. One thing that is unique about the cow for the class Mammalia is that they have mammary glands and a hair. So keratinized skin, only the Komodo dragon and the mallard duck have this. The class Aves and class Reptilia, they have tough skin, while the ducks, their thin epidermal layer of the skin are keratinized in a way that their feathers are made up of keratin. So the bird, which is the most complex of all organisms, have pneumatized bone, feathers, and some species can also fly because they have modified muscles, but I only focus on pneumatized bones. So pneumatized bones means that their bones are light because it is filled with air inside. So this is the cladogram for vertebrates, and it just shows from simplest organism to the most complex organism, which is the duck. And it's also stated earlier that class Reptilia evolved from class Amphibia. So that explains why the class Amphibia is more basal than the class Reptilia. So that is all. These are my references. That is all for my discussion of my e-portfolio. I hope that we learned something. Thank you for listening.